I broke it into like 4 different sections that, you can kind of go through to get these workshops set up. So we don't actually have a module for workshops. So a lot of folks will ask, how can I even, attempt this in academia or whatever. But we actually have created kind of a way that you can work around not having an actual workshops module. And what it is basically we will set those up as services, like a workshop service. And then even if you wanted to track like the names of each workshops, you could set those up as a subject or, um, course in the system. So once you have those done and there's a little bit of pre-conference setup, you're going to start allowing your students to sign up via the appointment system. So we'll see how we basically make a tutor available at a certain time, and then we advertise that to the students. The next thing is the day of the event. So you need to have a kiosk set up, and you can make it fixed so that it's already pre-selected on all the options that you want. And then of course, after the event, how you would pull those reports and make sure that you're only getting the workshop information. So, and my forward button, there we go. Okay, so these are the first steps. So the first thing you want to do is go ahead and create a workshop service. And to find that in the system is going to be under administration. You're going to go to your centers and classrooms and then select the center. Once you've selected the center, you'll have like, typically there's like about 3 tabs by default. You might have less depending on your options, but there should be a services tab. And since the services are directly tied to the center, this is the only place you'll find those services. And what you'll want to do is go ahead and add in a workshop service. That way you can start, having folks sign into that. We can go into the system and see what that looks like. Let me pull up one of my accounts here. So I'm just going to go ahead and log in with an admin account. And we're going to go to administration, centers and classrooms. And I'm going to use the classroom that I use, the center I use a lot is the Skills and Tutoring Center. And in here, you can see the tab for services. And I've actually already created a workshop because I've used a few different times. But if you haven't, you just would add that service here and then basically give it a name and then choose what options that you would want. If you're going to be allowing them to sign in online, to maybe have like virtual options as well as in person, maybe you would want to definitely check the online option there. So it's up to you how you handle that. Like I know for me in the past when I was setting this up, I would just do for face-to-face, and I just basically don't have that third box checked. And you could have one for each. You could have an online workshop versus face-to-face, however you want to do that. So that's where you go for that. The next thing it's on the slide, it's going to be under administration, and I've renamed mine courses, but this is normally subject areas. So if you see subject areas right there, that's where it is, and mine's called courses. But I have like, so let's see. So I have a few seminars in here. So learning strategy seminar, and you don't have to have numbers for them. In fact, like if I wanted to, it could just be a title. So all I'm doing is put in a title. And what I would probably do is make this available to all students so that anybody could sign up for this and they don't have to be registered to that particular seminar that I'm going to have. And once I have that in there, let's go back to the slides here. I'm going to want to assign a tutor to the service and the subject. So I need to do that on their schedule, but I also need to make sure that they have that subject that I just created assigned to them too. So we're actually going to visit the tutor's schedule, but before we do that, we might want to take a pit stop over at our users. So administration, user accounts. And I'm going to filter only on tutors, so they just get my list of tutors. And I know Johnny was the one that was going to be helping me with that. So I'm going to go to their tutor assignments and just make sure that they have that seminar. There it is, learning strategies. Okay, save that. And now we're going to go to center attendance and tutor schedule. And I'm going to look for my tutor. And we're going to do it for a specific week. Now, instead of getting the entire semester here, to get a specific week, I'm going to go to merge mode. And when I go to merge mode, I get where I can choose the week of. So I know it's going to be for this Friday, so I'm going to go ahead and select that and apply the filters. Okay, and it was going to be in the evening, so I think we were going to set that from 3 to 5. So I'm going to go ahead and click and drag over 3 to 5. And excuse me. Normally this person would be available for all their courses and all their services, but when the students go to schedule it, we don't want them to be available for all of that. We just want them to see, the seminar. So I'm going to customize this, and I'm going to clear all their courses right now from the selection, and I'm just going to select the one seminar that they're going to be available for during that time. And then same with the services. We're going to go ahead and clear what they normally would be able to help with and just do workshop. So you can see how it has like slashes through that green spot. So this means that it's a one-time occurrence. So if I were to change this to, like, let's say next week after that and apply those filters, you're going to see they're not available for that workshop again. So it's really literally just for that week of the 18th here. Okay, so I've got that scheduled, and now I have to advertise it. That's going to be our next step. Okay, so there's many different ways. You don't have to use Accudemia to advertise. If you have like some kind of campaign mailing system, whatever you like. But we do actually offer a communication section in Accudemia where you could send out like to maybe a group of students. So for instance, in this example that I have here, I've actually sent out to a group of freshmen, my freshman group, about a new student workshop. Okay, so, and we're just kind of advertising it through the system. Now, if you needed to enable those options, you're going to notice mine's already enabled. Down here at the bottom, I have this black bar. But if I didn't have that, what I could do is go to Administration, Control Panel, and the User Account section. And on the left side, I can jump to it if I click on it, or I could have just scrolled down. But I need to enable the messaging feature at least. So some of these other options like chat, that's over here if I wanted internal chat between my staff and myself. I can also allow students to communicate between themselves as well. But you don't have to have those necessarily enabled, but you definitely need the first one so that you have a new message option here. And that's pretty much it. Once you save the changes at the top, that bar is going to appear. And you can click the new message and search for your groups. So let's say I know that if I am uploading regularly these groups, so I have freshmen, I'm going to select the groups here so that I can see it, and I'll just click on that group. Once it gets added to this little yellow box, I know it's going to go to them. But let's say this is really open to all undergraduates, so I'm just going to look for all the different groups here. And then, basically just like any email, we're going to have a subject and a message and all that. So I could actually fill all this information out, word it exactly how I want. Maybe even put a link for them to come over to Accudemia and schedule an appointment for that time. You want to include the date and time so they know exactly when to look. I think at least if they have the date, they'll be able to see that and pull it for that particular workshop. Okay, cool. And then after that, it's the day of, you've prepared for, everybody's signed up. You can already see that there's people that have scheduled appointments for that workshop. Now we have to set up what's called a fixed sign-in kiosk. And the reason why we want to do this is just so that it's preset or locked to those particular services that we set up and those courses. So, if whatever the workshop's going to be on, I would probably want to set those specifically, and then maybe even who's hosting it. So if I have one of my tutors hosting it, maybe I want to pre-select them. Now I don't have to select all of these options, but you want to make sure that you select all the options that you would normally ask your students. And so if, for instance, we normally ask for like a professor, then you may want to even have that associated with a professor, even if it's a dummy one that you create in there. Another option would be if for walk-ins you do like a selection path where you don't have to have all those things selected if it's a workshop. I've seen this actually work where you could actually set it to just having the the service used, where if they don't really care what workshop it is they attended, but you just want to know that that service was being used, you could actually have it set up where you don't have to have the course maybe selected or the tutor selected. It just has the service pre-selected. But I want to show you how that's done here. So we're going to go ahead and look at setting up a kiosk. And one way is administration, sign-in station computers. The other way is just under your quick menu. You should have a sign-in station option there. If you don't, maybe you're a lower admin, you don't have as many privileges as the main admin, you may have to just talk to them so they can give you the sign-in station permission. But instead of just selecting the center and setting up a normal kiosk, what we're going to do is click on the gear symbol here, and we're going to go ahead and search for our workshop service. And then, like I said, if there's any particular course, so let's say we do that seminar, and I can even select a tutor if I wanted to. So now I can't select more than one item, so it's just gonna ask for like the one item that you want to set it up to. And when I click set up kiosk and log out, it's going to log me out and it's going to take you to the sign in screen. But what you'll notice is down here is it's going to show you what exactly the person's signing in for. So if I have a student sign in now, I think I need one more 5. There we go. And they can go ahead and walk in. And I think it's asking for the professor because I normally ask for that. And that's why I was saying you could actually okay, so they should actually be signed in. And also if you have a waiting line, they might have to get signed in off the waiting line. One of the things that I didn't mention is you can actually make that service bypass the waiting line as well. So here, I'll log back in and show you how that works too. Under administration, if we jump back to where the services were under center and classroom, and go back to that center, services, workshop, I'm going to go ahead and edit that one. We want it to skip over the waiting line because we don't need them to go into a wait line. My bad. Save changes. I think I don't usually use a waiting line, and it was somehow enabled when I was testing something. So, but anyways, if we went here, we would see that they're waiting. I would just sign them in, and when we get them signed in and everything, you'll see that it's already pre-selected on the workshop and everything that we had selected. Okay. And finally, this is what it's all, about, is getting the reports afterward. And I went through the reports just to kind of see some that were I thought were pretty good. So one would be helpful, like while you're getting signups, like during the appointment process, if you just wanted to see how many people signed up for that. And I didn't mention this, but when you're setting their tutor schedule, you can actually set a seat number in a way. And I think I overlooked that, but if I go back to that tutor schedule and we go to merge mode and we go back to the 18th again, and let's see, there he is. If I click and drag over this, when I actually had set these, I mentioned the courses and the service down here, but I forgot to mention this. So basically with this set, they would have only allowed one person to sign up for it. So you want to definitely get the seat number right here. So I would probably set it to something like 30 if I had a small classroom, or, you know, maybe smaller if because of COVID, you know, how many people you can fit in that area. Okay, sorry about that. Just jumping back, but yeah, so this would be good. The appointment history is good because you can see everybody who signed up for that, and there's a filter for that service. So you could say, I only want to see for my workshops. And if you know what the workshop name is, you can actually filter for that course as well. So you would basically filter out that course name and you'd get a specific list of who signed up for that workshop. A couple other that are good for like afterwards is the attendance by subject and the attendance by service. And the reason why I say that is you got the filters that you need for that. So like you can filter out by service and you can filter out by the course or subject. Now, if you see this report that I had pulled, it says unspecified for the course. So this is how that would look if I didn't specify what the workshop name was. So if I had set up a sign-in kiosk just for that service called workshop, just realize like when I pull a report that says by subject, it's just going to say unspecified. So a lot of times that's why to kind of keep yourself organized, I would just create a course or subject for each of your different workshops. So you know like, okay, this was for this workshop or this was from a different workshop. So that's it. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Nick. So if there are any questions, you can put that in the chat, or you can also unmute yourself. We are really happy to take those questions. I think we get asked a lot, like, how do we do workshops in Accudemia when there's not a specific workshop module? And the answer seems like, you know, pretty straightforward. You set it up like a class, because in a lot of ways, a workshop is very similar to a class, just without a regular attendance, or not always, but sometimes without needing pre-registration. So we are going to give it just another minute or so for questions about this, and then we can open it up to general Q&A. All right. So if anybody does have any general questions about Accudemia, it does not have to be related to the topic of workshops or seminars in Accudemia. You can do that. Nick, can you show them how they can ask questions if they aren't sure about how to do that? So again, there should be a couple of buttons up top, the conversation button and also the mute button if you would like to unmute yourself to ask any questions that you have. Okay.
Hi, this is Julio from Santa Barbara City College. I have a question for Nick.
Hey, Julio.
Hey, Nick. Question for you. When setting up the kiosk, log in as an admin. So when I log in through our college, we do click on that link. It takes us to our pipeline username and password to be able to sign in. When I log in, would I be recognized to set up the kiosk for that?
Yeah,
because you know how we have to set it up.
My bad. You were kind of breaking up, but I think you were saying like if you log in through single sign-on, will you still have the same permissions that you had as an admin?
Yes,
Okay.
when setting up the kiosk.
Yeah. So definitely you should have the same permissions if your ID is the same as the ID that you would have through single sign-on. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So
Okay.
when you click on your name in the top right of Accudemia and you're logged in and you go to account, I don't know if you saw that real quick, but it's the first option right here. This pulls up all your account information. And then
Okay.
what you want to do is on the security, if you still are using like 11111 like this right here, that's not going to work with single sign-on. So you definitely want to make sure that either this number or I know in some cases they use a secondary ID that might look more like a username. You want to make sure that those match with what you're using over in your single sign-on. So one of those have to match.
Yes.
So
Yeah. So we use for the secondary user. We call it our key number, which is our ID for the college.
okay, yeah, I mean it should work, and if not, what we can do, if you want to set up a meeting, we can always go through and make sure that like you don't have two accounts in there, because sometimes what'll happen, I notice, is we'll have admins that have like an admin account that's separate from their actual account that was brought over through the imports. Yep.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome, man. Okay, so we got another question here from Joshua. Is there a way to limit the services that appear on the sign-in stations? We have several services which we use internally, but do not want the students to see when they swipe their IDs. It's a good question. We have a way of hiding it from the appointments. So for instance, if I didn't want to offer, a certain service available for appointments, but for the walk-ins, we don't have that option yet. So they will all show up at the sign-in kiosk for walk-ins. You can try to limit that if you wanted to set up individual kiosks for certain services. So like if let's say you had a sign-in kiosk at the front area of each area, you could set each one to a specific service so they wouldn't see those. But if you had like a general, let's say you had 3 general sign-ins at the entrance, they're just going to see all the services, unfortunately. So that's something that could definitely be improved on. There's a website, and I'm going to just put it in the chat real quick. Accudemia.uservoice.com. That's where we want to collect all the ideas for improving the software. So if you have any kind of improvement or feedback ideas on Accudemia, you can put those out there. When we go to do like the next release, that's where they're going to look the first place, kind of to gather everyone's submissions and see where we need to make some changes.